117, Making Waves. Bianca farted all the way back to the Mecrin submarine. Proverbially, of course, but Ryan couldn't help but laugh at the sound she made each time she switched between gaseous and human form. Now, she was doing a live demonstration to the courier and the carnival members deep in the submarine's mess. Most of the group sat around white tables, while Mr. Wave prepared cocktails behind a short counter. Bianca's body, clothes included, turned into an orange cloud with a snap of her fingers. Unlike her time as a psycho, the substance reminded Ryan more of faint-colored mist than thick, toxic chemicals. When she touched the thrumming metal walls of the submarine, they didn't corrode into dust. Ryan looked at his traveling circus. Leo Hargraves had taken back his sexy, handsome human form, and didn't hide his joy. Stitch scribbled notes on a journal. Maddie kept his arms crossed with skepticism, and their new recruit, the panda, acclaimed Bianca with his paws. So? Bianca asked as she returned to her human form, her cloud coalescing into flesh, hair, and clothes. Terrible clothes, by the way. How could she live with herself wearing only shaggy jeans and a tank top the courier would never understand? So I will introduce you to your Lord and Savior, wardrobe, Ryan replied. I can't, in good conscience, let you run around dressed like that. Still better than a hazmat suit, the young woman snickered, searching her pockets for a cigarette and a lighter. The corrosive aspect of the gas was probably the result of synergy, Dr. Stitch said. Now your powers act independently. You can switch back and forth between solid and gaseous, yes, and your chemical compound no longer degrades metallic material. I ain't going to rust any metal tool I get my hands on? Bianca asked with a scoff, causing her cigarette to vibrate. Unlike her orange power, the red one worked shockingly the same.
Yeah.
I won't miss that part. Might need to change my name though. May I suggest Lady Flatulence? Ryan asked mirthfully. Instead of pinching him, his former vice president answered with a joke of her own. Only if you change your name to Butthole, she said. Wouldn't we make quite the pair then? How about Ass and Fart? You intoxicate them, I smother them. We will call our new superhero team the Cheeks. Better than the Butt Kissers. Sifu, could I join? The panda asked enthusiastically. Of course, Ryan replied. I shall grant you the honorable name of Ass Kicker. Shroudy Matty kept his arms crossed. Though he had championed the treatment for the psycho condition, seeing it in action filled him with doubt now. I hope you all understand what this discovery means, he said. While it is preferable to having a psychopath with 2 powers, this means anyone can technically receive 2 powers now. The number of would-be Augustus wannabes will increase. I doubt so, Sunshine replied with optimism. With Eva Fabre dead and her facility destroyed, nobody can make true elixirs. Once the Mecrin bases are destroyed and Dynamis is dealt with, knockoffs will become a thing of the past. Never say never, Sunshine, Ryan replied, knowing that someone could always develop the right power to make more of them. But I agree. The elixir well will eventually dry up, and the problem with Lightning but isn't the fact he has 2 powers. It's what those 2 powers can do combined. Sunshine nodded in agreement. Invulnerability and his destructive lightning make Augustus a danger to human civilization, but among the thousands of psychos we encountered, only Bloodstream possesses a truly cataclysmic power combination. There will always be the likes of Mecrin and Adam the Ogre, psycho condition or not. Point taken, Shroud conceded. Considering the data we gathered and the projections on the elixir distribution, Stitch said, elixirs will more or less vanish from circulation within 10 years. New genomes afterward will be born, rather than made. The elixirs that remained would be like buried treasures lost to time. The alchemist had planned for genomes to overcome Homo sapiens, and they would do so. With a stable genetic code, former psychos will also be able to reproduce, bolstering the new breed's numbers further. I won't speak for all psychos out there. Bianca lit her cigarette and enjoyed the taste of incoming lung cancer. But I ain't starting any more trouble, unless the nerd asks me to. Moi? Ryan asked, switching between his native tongue and French. You gave me my life back, jackass, she replied. I owe you a debt I can't ever repay. Whatever you want from me, you'll get it. But I'll still punch you in the arm if you push your luck. Would you submit to a trial? Leo Hargraves asked.
Yeah.
I guess I would. Bianca let out a cloud of smoke from her nostrils. Will I be convicted? Your crimes are nowhere near as severe as Adam or Psyshock, and you helped us a great deal, Sunshine replied with wisdom. I believe in second chances. Your captured teammates will be treated the same. Only geniuses with our resources and combined expertise can make this cure work though, sir, Stitch pointed out. We will need support to expand it across Europe. Nidhogg's? Shroud asked. Dynamis? Ryan replied jokingly. Get the best privatized healthcare in the world? Which isn't saying much. His transparent teammate grumbled, as if a pigeon had assaulted his windshield. They already have the infrastructure, Ryan, but none of the ethics required. We could work with Enrique Monada, but not the rest of his family, Leo Hargraves replied. There is still time to think about the future. Let us first cure the meta-gang members in captivity, and see if the treatment sticks. Ryan left his allies to debate how to mass-produce the cure to sit behind the mess bar counter. Mr. Wave gave him a purple cocktail, with a tasteful blue drinking straw. What is this? The courier asked. This is the Virgin Wave Mojito, Mr. Wave pitched the cocktail. Mr. Wave can make people drunk on non-alcoholic beverages. Ryan took a sip, closing his eyes in pleasure as the taste washed over his mouth. Such a perfect mix of grape juice, honey, and so many secret things. His idol's exquisite tastes didn't stop at fashion. Delicious. Mr. Wave only accepts the best, the genome replied, a hand on the counter. The Sun told Mr. Wave that you wanted to talk to him? Yes, I did. The noise of their allies' debate drowned Ryan's voice, as he dropped the bomb without warning. I'm a time traveler. The courier expected questions, but Mr. Wave was too good for that. One cannot travel through time. Time waits for Mr. Wave, but only after he counts to infinity. And when Mr. Wave kills time, it stays dead. Obviously, Ryan replied. Do you remember the day we met? You saved me from an explosion. The superhero joined his hands. Mr. Wave has had that pleasure, yes. You saved my life more than 20 times, Ryan said, as he sipped the cocktail. I lost count afterward. Sometimes I tripped, sometimes I dived down. You couldn't save me all the time, but you always at least tried. When I die, I often remember the feeling of your cashmere suit pressing against my face to shield me from the flames. Mr. Wave listened in respectful silence, his wavelength head lacking anything like facial expressions. You were always present when I woke up, Ryan continued his tale. Sitting at my bedside, as if you had a responsibility towards me. Mr. Wave had one, the man replied. If Mr. Wave had seen you earlier, you wouldn't have ended up in the hospital in the first place. If you had, you would all be dead. And Ryan himself too. Whenever I woke up, you always tried to help me in any way you could. At one point, you even toured all of Italy's coastline at light speed to try and find Len. There is no light speed. Light travels at Mr. Wave's pace. The colorful genome's voice turned from amused to serious. Why did you run away, Ryan? I wasn't in the right state of mind, the courier admitted. You know the 5 stages of grief? I think I was stuck at the depression part for 30 years? At least 20. Took me a stay in Monaco to reach acceptance and enjoy the ride. Mr. Wave has discussed this with Simon. You saved a great many souls from a terrible place, Ryan. Yes, but it took a while. These guys needed a hero to get them out of hell, and, well, when I tried to think of one, you were the first that came to mind. My parents died when I was young, and Bloodstream was no one's idea of a parental model. Mr. Wave can imagine. So I guess I tried to become a little more like you, the time traveler said, letting the truth off his chest. I want to say thank you. You inspired me in my darkest moments, and I owe you my life more than 10 times over. You owe me nothing, Ryan, Mr. Wave replied, his tone almost paternal. I am proud of you. I've been keeping up with your adventures when I could, and you have saved more lives than you think. This made the courier's head perk up. You did? Yes, though I wonder why you crashed a plane while making a delivery, Mr. Wave replied with a shrug. Even I didn't go that far. I swear, the alternative was worse. Or at least Ryan hoped so, as he played with his drinking straw. He didn't fully remember that particular run, truth be told. I thought the first person couldn't contain your almighty power. I was a comedian before I became a living spotlight, Mr. Wave replied, breaking character. Life on the road is hard. Out of our group's newbies, 1 out of 4 usually dies before the mission is done. Leo still feels guilty about not being there to save the Costa family from Augustus. Matthias watched his mother become a vegetable, Ace has her own demons, and even the good doctor feels down sometimes. It's depressing when you think about how fragile life is, so I make sure that my teammates never do it. Ryan sighed. When everything goes to shit, the only way to go on is to laugh off the pain and power through. Exactly. Someone has to carry on the show when everyone else feels down. The living wavelength glanced at the carnival, and most specifically at Bianca. The challenges are different when you move from one-man shows to a troupe, but I think you're doing very well for yourself. I had my fill of one-man shows. I love the spotlight. But you hate solitude more? Mr. Wave guessed. Ryan nodded. You knew about the time travel part. This made him laugh. Only half of my boasts are exaggerations, Ryan, he said. I keep the real stuff secret, because nobody would believe them. I've seen way crazier things than time travel. Have you been to Quebec? No, but I'll probably invade Canada when I get elected president of the free world again. Whatever you do, Ryan, don't go to Quebec. Shorty's voice echoed through the mess loudspeaker. We're approaching Italy's coasts, she said.
Oh.
I will have phone coverage again. Ryan said happily, leaping from his seat and leaving an empty glass behind. Sorry, I need to call my girlfriend. Mr. Wave understands. He has his fangirls too. Mr. Wave raised an index at Ryan, like one of those Uncle Sam wants you posters. Don't let her go, Ryan. He wouldn't. Ryan walked out of the mess and through the submarine's metal corridors, making its way to the exit. No sooner did he open his phone, than he received a message from Livia. Livia love, Ryan? Ryan, are you all right? They must have reached the Mediterranean Sea. Plushy tamer, hi princess. I'm fine. Livia love, hearing from you is a relief, my knight. Is everything going well? Plushy tamer, my mission was a total success. Livia love, that makes one of us. Plushy tamer, what happened? Livia love, you will understand when you see New Rome's coast. Livia love, I tried to stop it, Ryan. I tried, but I couldn't. He won't change. He won't ever change. A chill went down Ryan's spine, as he realized what had happened. Plushy tamer, where are you? Livia love, I'm in Sorrentos with Narcinia and Fortuna. Come back soon. Livia love, I miss you. Plushy tamer, I miss you so much too. I'll be there soon. Livia love, I can't wait. I want you, Ryan. I need you. Plushy tamer, I'm coming. Ryan closed his phone, before crossing paths with Alchemo in the corridor. Sending nudes again, meatbag, he asked. How did you? Because I understand your vile thought process, you hormonal hominid, the genius replied with annoyance. I have a breakthrough to report. Go ahead, Father Brain. We now know that a genome's consciousness exists in an intangible flux state. Your gaseous groupie confirmed it. Now, with this information in mind, I believe I can refine the chronoradio mechanism which the underdiver developed to send minds through time. Make the signal more efficient. Ryan immediately caught on. You could send more than one mind map back. Yes. The courier couldn't keep his excitement in check. How many? I would say 5. Maybe 6, but I don't guarantee it. Ryan didn't hide his disappointment at the answer, causing Alchemo to shrug. The more mind maps are sent back, the harder the computations. Even my boundless intellect can only do so much on that front. Ryan would have hoped for more, but this still changed everything. The original plan relied on transferring Livia's mind back in time, recreating the brain scanning machine, and then using her stored brain maps to help their allies remember. This, however, significantly delayed the assault on Mekran's bunker. Big Fat Adam sent captured denizens of Rust Town to their demise in his attempt to unlock Mekran's bunker, and a day lost meant dozens of innocent casualties. But if Ryan could bring more people, then a team could confront the metagang as soon as he reloaded. Who could he bring though? Sunshine? Even if he received his future self's memories, the living sun would be hours away from New Rome, and each minute lost increased the metagang's death toll. Shroud was already active though, and a safer bet. It would also end his assassination campaign before it began. Livia and Shorty would get a time travel ticket, which left 2 to 3 spots available. Having Bianca on board would make taking down the bunker easier, but if Ryan could secure someone in Dynamis too. I need to think about this, the time traveler said. Can you send anyone? Of course I can, Alchemo replied arrogantly. Brain matter is no longer mandatory, though I would suggest bringing a few geniuses. Do geniuses with a small g count? Your funeral. Ryan climbed out of the submarine's tower, taking a breath of fresh air. The Milky Way's stars shone brightly in the skies above the courier's head, while the moon made him hungry for a French croissant pastry. Felix already beat him to the observatory spot, sitting at the tower's edge. He glanced in the coast's direction, noticing the lights of New Rome in the distance. I thought cats were afraid of water, Adam Kitten. Ryan said, sitting next to Felix. I never crossed the ocean before, he admitted. I never even left Italy, and now I moved halfway through the world and back. Next episode, we will go to Australia. Then you can call yourself Adam Kangaroo. You can't fathom how much I regret choosing that nickname, the young man replied, his beautiful blue eyes examining Ryan carefully. Who are you, really? A time traveler from the future. Or the past, if you look sideways. Felix squinted, considered his fellow genome's words, and then reacted with denial. I don't believe you, he said. Unsurprising, but disappointing. Adam Cat had accepted the truth pretty quickly in a previous loop, but this current iteration hadn't bonded much with Ryan. Then how else do you explain, well, everything, the courier asked. Livia. You're clearly working with her, dating her, and it wouldn't be the first time she makes one of these circuitous plots work. Though I can't explain the endgame you're aiming for. Saving the city, and overthrowing my future father-in-law. Ryan made a note to officially duel Lightning but for his daughter's hand in marriage, if appropriate. Livia would never do that, Felix replied with scorn. She's her father's daughter, trying to mitigate Augustus' damage rather than stop him. And yet, she helped me save your skin from your parents, and form an alliance with the carnival, Ryan shrugged. Things aren't black and white. Doesn't change the fact that you can't be a time traveler. I can literally stop time for the entire universe, and you think turning it back is implausible? Then prove it, Felix said. Take me back, if you can. That's a bit harder than you think, so let me suggest something else. Ryan looked at the crescent moon. Once, while you and Jamie were still friends, intelligent rats stole bliss batches from Mercury's division. You tracked the animals to their mistress and, it was a horrible sight. Felix looked at the courier as if horns had sprouted from his skull, which only encouraged him to carry on. Ki-young was squatting in an abandoned apartment infested with rodents, suffering from an overdose of bliss. Blood poured out from her nose and eyes, and mold grew on her skin. Felix's hands clenched into fists. Who told you that? You did, Ryan replied. Even now, he could remember that conversation word for word, like so many lost to time. You rushed to the hospital, and the first thing Ki-young did upon waking up was to ask for more bliss. It was, in your own words, a wake-up call. You tried to get Narcinia out of the business, but her parents always pulled her back in. What did they say? Felix asked, his voice turning distant. It's for the greater good of the family, honey, Ryan quoted. Addicts kill themselves because they can't help themselves. Adam Kitten spent the next few minutes considering the courier's words in grim silence. Many emotions flashed on his face, from anger and doubt to grief. Taking a page from Mr. Wave's book, Ryan let his friend process his feelings in respectful silence. It's too vivid, Felix said. Livia would have gotten the details wrong, and I never told the full story to anyone. Either you can read my mind in addition to stopping time, or you're really a goddamn time traveler. I don't see what a mind reader would have to gain from telling such a nonsensical story. Hey, my life makes sense in its context. Ryan protested. I have doubts, Felix replied dryly, a sad smile forming at the edge of his lips. How does your power work? I create a save point, and when I die, I live again, Ryan replied. I believe it is my 16th time reloading in New Rome. Felix scoffed. That's messed up. By my standards, it's quite the safe zone. Felix squinted at Ryan, as if suddenly figuring out the implications of the courier's words. We were close, he realized. I wouldn't have told you so much if I didn't trust you with my life. We formed a team called Quick Save the Pandas, as formidable as it was stylish. Ryan closed his eyes in mourning. I miss Yuki so much. I can imagine the two of you getting along, Felix mused, before frowning. Wait, did she force me to wear a new costume? Unfortunately, you remained a fashion disaster to the end. Ryan looked at his former sidekick in the eyes. Your sister died to save your life during that loop. Felix's hands clenched. Father? Pluto. Or Cruella, if you prefer. The superhero looked down at the dark sea. Augustus is always going to send someone after me, he said. And people will die in the crossfire. Not if I have my way. I never made up with Jamie and Ki-young, Felix said, his voice breaking. I slammed the door behind when they chose to support the Bliss business. I still think I was right to do so, but they still died trying to protect me. The last thing I did was to condemn them, and now that they're dead, I can't take my words back. They died thinking I hated them. Tears formed in the young hero's eyes. Hey, kitten, it's all right, Ryan said, putting a hand around his friend's shoulder. You couldn't know. No, Adam Cat closed his eyelids and wiped away the tears. I loved them, man. They were my friends. Jamie was my best friend, and Ki-young, she was such a caring woman. I wanted them to do the right thing, take a stand against that soul-destroying drug, but I never wanted them to die. Ryan hugged his friend, consoling him. It's not too late, the courier said. I will give you another chance to make this right. Why are you telling me this now? Felix asked, before pushing the time traveler's arm away. If I don't remember any of it, then it means you didn't bring me back with you the first time. I couldn't bring back your memories through time in that old loop, Ryan replied. But I might do so now. It took a few tries, but we have the technology for it. Felix didn't answer immediately, instead glancing at dancing lights on the horizon. Do you think it's too late for me to make up to them? He asked Ryan. I think they can turn away from the Augusti with the proper nudge. Jamie and Ki-young reminded Ryan of Bianca, who had followed Big Fat Adam partly out of fear, and partly out of denial about her boss' true motivations. Zanbato and Chitter had taken a stand to protect Adam Cat, unlike his own parents, showing their loyalty to the Augusti wasn't unshakable. But they will need your help, kitten. If I have any chance to make this right, if I have any chance, I must take it. Felix's eyes turned determined. That's why you and Livia are working together. This kind of mess happened before, and you're trying to avert it. Livia is a better person than you think, kitten, Ryan replied with fondness. It took a while, but all the pieces are in place. Our happy ending is finally within reach. Can I help? Yes, but I won't lie, we're probably going to fight your parents, your godfather, and dozens of villains before we can call it a day. This is going to be a boss rush, and half of them will be people you know. You better sharpen your claws. The good thing is, I hate almost everyone I know. Felix's gaze turned determined. Where do I sign up? The submarine approached closer to the coast, the light getting brighter, the smell of smoke filling the air. Wait, Felix said with a frown. Something is wrong. Ryan had noticed it too. The bright colors, the hue reflecting in clouds above the coast. He had seen this picture 2 times before, as events repeated again and again. These weren't the lights of glamorous casinos, but the brightness of flames. New Rome was on fire, and Ryan only had one word to say in response. Again. 118, The Last Quest. All rights reserved. No portion of this book may be reproduced in any form without permission from the publisher. For permissions contact, send a mail at maximj.durand@gmail.com. Any perceived slight to specific people or organizations are unintentional. This loop would end like the previous one, in Sorrentos. At least a horde of bloody mutants didn't pursue Ryan this time around, but the realization left him bitter. He knew that causality had a tendency to reassert itself, and though the courier would break that chain of destruction, he had spent weeks, if not months in New Rome. He had befriended dozens of locals, heroes, and villains. Watching the city on fire again filled him with anger. The courier hadn't felt so determined to save these people since his first perfect run in Monaco. Only Shroud, Felix, and Sunshine had been allowed to follow him to the meeting point, the exact same building where Ryan reloaded after the last loop's disastrous end. The group bypassed a defensive perimeter of hundreds of Vulcan-made turrets without any problem. Only Adam Kitten and See-Through came in full costume. Leo Hargraves panted as he walked in human form, while Ryan came with a dashing suit granted by Mr. Wave. Have you forgotten how to walk? Ryan asked Sunshine, who lacked endurance. I'm sorry, but I only carry damsels in distress in my arms, or lost kittens. How about Atomic Hound? Felix asked. How does that sound, as a new name? It sounds like Atom Puppy to me, Ryan replied. Felix let out a sigh, realizing that there would be no escape from mockery. Hargraves smiled, though there was little joy in it. The longer I use my power, the less I want to become a man again, he confessed. Sometimes I spend weeks without returning to normal, and often forget that I can. Your power impacts your mental health? Felix asked, as they reached gray, reinforced doors. A camera observed them. In a way, Sunshine admitted. A part of me wants to shed my humanity, and become a radiant sun full-time. I didn't understand why, but meeting the alchemist quelled my doubts. It's not a bug, Ryan said. It's a feature. Sunshine shared an extremely strong connection with his elixir, perhaps as much as the courier himself. Both were closer to this ascension than most. Ryan still didn't fully understand what the process would imply, but transforming into a denizen of the colored realms was a part of the package. Hargraves might end up becoming a true sun one day, leaving Earth to illuminate some dark corner of the universe. Ryan considered it a better alternative than him burning their planet's atmosphere, or worse. Yes. That's why I try to stay a human when my power isn't needed. If you spend all your time in the air, you stop relating to the people on the ground. Sunshine narrowed his eyebrows, as a thought crossed his mind. I wonder if Augustus is in the same situation. Unlike me, he cannot revert back to his human state. If half the tales we learned about him are true, he was a nasty piece of work from the start, Shroud replied. I know, Hargraves said with a sigh. But a part of me hoped that human nature wouldn't be capable of such cruelty without outside factors. Ryan remembered his first date with Livia, and how he had found Discount Zeus posing as a statue in his own kitchen. The courier had blamed senility back then, but in hindsight Lightning but probably suffered from a similar syndrome as his nemesis. The power slumbering inside him wanted to become a statue of indestructible, inviolable metal, and it became harder to resist the urge with age. The building's doors swiftly opened, a golden retriever in human form immediately latched onto Felix. The poor kitten let out a gasp as the vile creature squeezed him like a fruit, while Ryan's judgmental gaze appraised her white ensemble. 6 out of 10, maybe 7. You fool, you idiot, you moron. Fortuna said so many flowery insults in such a short amount of time, that Ryan's mind automatically censored half of them. You heartless little. Hi, sis, Felix didn't finish his sentence, as Fortuna slapped him on the cheek with enough strength to crack his mask. Hey! You deserve worse, she replied, before hugging him again with tears in her eyes. You idiot, you almost died. If you had died, Adam Cat said nothing for a moment, before hugging his crying sister back. I'm sorry I worried you, he said, and he meant it. 2 other girls emerged from the building, a teenage Spitfire and an elegant lady. Felix. Little Narcinia immediately joined the group hug, overjoyed to see her adoptive sibling again. Thank God you're alive. I'm here, Narcy, Felix whispered. I'm here. Though Leo observed Narcinia with a sad frown, Ryan didn't pay much attention to her. He only had eyes for his own lady. Livia walked out of the door's threshold, wearing the black coat and dark ensemble that she loved so much. The dress highlighted her pale skin and hair, and the red around her eyes. She cried, Ryan realized. She cried for New Rome. Neither said a word. They didn't need to. The couple simply hugged tightly, and let their hands do the talking. Meanwhile, the Varan siblings had separated, and Fortuna finally noticed her boyfriend's presence. Matthias. Fortuna, he replied, removing his glass helmet with his power. I'm glad you're. She kissed him on the mouth before he could finish. At first surprised, Shroud put his arms around his girlfriend and shyly embraced her back. While Leo, Livia, and Ryan smiled at the sight, Fortuna's siblings reacted with distress.
Ew.
Narcinia complained, while Felix looked weirded out. Don't.
Ew.
My future husband. Fortuna said upon breaking the kiss. Husband? Matthias asked, horrified. You're marrying me, his girlfriend answered, as if it were obvious. I had some doubts left about our relationship, but watching you help save my brother dispelled them. We are meant to be together, and this time, I'm not letting you leave. Ever. Wow, you're skipping a lot of steps, Matthias replied, though he didn't protest as much as Ryan had expected. But you already have the ring. Fortuna protested. You only have to make your proposal. I don't have a. The squeegee man magnet froze in place, examined his glass armor, and noticed a golden ring accidentally stuck in it around his waist. He let out a loud sigh. So that's how it is. No way out, Invisiboy, Ryan warned him. Matthias rolled his eyes, before pushing his girlfriend back kindly. Let's do it properly, all right, he asked her. Take it slow, see if we can make it last a few years? Oh, sure, she replied with confidence. I know it will work out. Ryan chuckled, before glancing at his own girlfriend. You're under house arrest, milady? They are, Livia said upon breaking the embrace. But I am not friendless. Uncle Silvio sent the guards away for today. Neptune? Shroud asked, his girlfriend putting her arms around his left one. Why would he let us have this meeting? Because I told him this was the only path to peace that I could see, she replied with a sigh. He is the only sensible head among my father's close collaborators. What happened in our absence? The glass man asked. Livia looked down on the ground, her hands reaching for Ryan's. Her boyfriend held her fingers into his own, and she squeezed them. After you fled, father reached the conclusion that you and Dynamis were allied, and so, the Augusti princess looked in New Rome's direction. Even kilometers away from the metropolis, one could still see smoke in the skies. And so he decided to launch an offensive. I did everything I could to stop an escalation or delay it, but Augustus had made up his mind long ago, Shroud guessed. His mother's prophecy stated that lightning would go ballistic at one point, and causality would not be denied. Yes, Livia said sadly. My father always intended to strike at Dynamis. When the Bliss factory fell and Felix attempted to take Narcinia away, the conflict became inevitable. Hector recalled Fallout before granting him command over his corporate army, and now the war will engulf Europe. Ryan could almost taste the guilt in her voice. Since she had helped her boyfriend destroy the Bliss factory, she blamed herself for the war that resulted. It's not your fault, Livia, the courier reassured. You did all you could. I didn't, she replied with remorse, while Felix observed her with a strange gaze. I had years, Ryan. I had years to take more drastic measures to prevent this disaster. I thought that if outside circumstances changed, my father wouldn't unleash such destruction. Because he treated me with kindness, I excused his cruelty towards others. I looked the other way, and I was wrong. It's him, Ryan. It's all him, and he will never change. Narcinia noticed Sunshine gazing at her, making her anxious. I'm Leo Hargraves, the shiny paladin introduced himself, his voice kind and warm. Some people call me Leo the Living Sun. I know, Narcinia said, a bit intimidated. My parents hate you. While Shroud winced, Leo shook his head. No, they didn't, he said, his voice heavy. Your parents were my friends. He searched into his clothes and brought out an old picture, showing it to Narcinia. Ryan glanced at the photo, which represented a couple and their baby child. The man, built like a woodsman, had black hair and familiar blue eyes, but the woman, the brown in her hair, the freckles on her cheeks, the smiling face. Though she had only inherited her father's eyes, the resemblance between Narcinia and her mother was uncanny. This is your father Bruno Costa, and his wife Julie. Some of the nicest people I ever met. And this baby, Leo put a finger on the child. This baby is you, Julia. Narcinia took the photo without a word, while her siblings looked on. Felix could barely suppress his anger, while Fortuna clearly didn't know what to say. You were born long before I met your parents, but I held you in my arms when you were only a few years old, Leo continued. Your parents were heroes. Your father was a yellow who could cut through anything, and your mother was a green with the power to alter life. Together, they were trying to make this scorched planet green again, until Augustus slew them and took you away. No, Narcinia refused to accept it. No. It can't be. My parents, my true parents, were raiders. They deserved to die. He speaks the truth, Narcinia, Livia said, looking at the photo with regrets and remorse, as if she had done the grim deed herself. These are your true parents. Mars and Venus lied about everything. It can't be. Narcinia protested, looking at her elder sister for support. Fortuna, say something. Narcy, Livy is never wrong, and our parents tried to murder Felix, because Godfather Janus asked them to. Lucky Girl tightened her hold on her boyfriend's arm, while her brother looked away in silent rage. If they can do that, they're capable of anything. Augustus murdered your parents, Leo continued, the pain raw in his tone. He killed them while I was away, and took you with him. Afterward, he had Bacchus shatter your mind, so you would forget your family, and gave you to Mars and Venus when they struggled to conceive a third child. Augustus also slew the 50 people who lived at your mother's farm, Shroud added with disgust. He burnt the crops she had made with her power, plants that could have helped erase famine and clean up radioactive areas of the globe. Why? Livia asked, while Narcinia covered her mouth with one hand in horror. Because your father is not an emperor, but a deranged warlord. He offers no future, believes in nothing but strength. This. Shroud pointed a finger at the smoke clouds in the skies. This is his ideal world. Fire and ash. I know, Livia replied, her tone icy. I know. Leo Hargraves locked eyes with the Augusti princess, and the empathetic son understood what made her feel ill at ease. What happened to Juno was a mistake, Leo Hargraves said. I will not apologize for it, because nothing will ever excuse an innocent dying. The ends never justify the means employed. On that front, you are right to despise me. I don't have the strength in me to forgive you for killing my mother, Mr. Hargraves, even accidentally, Livia said with a long and heavy sigh. But my father has to be stopped. What he has done today is monstrous, and cannot be justified, however a part of me wants to. I will not make excuses for him. Not anymore. You are right, nothing can excuse slaying the innocents, and my father killed countless more than you ever will. So you will help us take him down? Shroud asked, causing Livia to nod firmly. You have my word that once your father has been stopped and his organization dismantled, I will submit to whatever trial you see fit for your mother's death, Hargraves promised to the Augusti princess. If we can stop him, Shroud replied, before glancing at Ryan. Leave this to me, the courier replied. Jupiter won the first round, but Saturn is back in the game. Livia didn't answer, causing Narcinia to look up at Hargraves. Tell me more. About the young girl coughed. About my parents. I will, Sunshine promised. He had waited years for this. Leo Hargraves started regaling Narcinia with tales about how he met her true parents, while Matthias took Fortuna aside, holding her hands. Ryan guessed that his translucent friend needed to come clean about how he saw their relationship. Which left only Felix, who exchanged an awkward glance with his ex Livia. Felix, Livia replied, half icy, half embarrassed. I'm sorry I dumped you, he declared bluntly, before thinking it over. Well, no, not quite. Let me reword that. Damn, he made Len look like a smooth talker. I still think that quitting the Augusti was the right decision, and I stand by it, Adam Cat continued. But I could have done it less harshly. I knew you were under a lot of pressure to smooth things out with the organization, and when I saw New Rome burning, I realized that you were trying to prevent this disaster. No, Felix. Livia shook her head, her voice breaking. You were right to leave this rotten empire. I know how you felt about me. I understand why it could never work between us. Our parents pushed us into something we weren't ready for. But it wasn't right to condemn you for being in an impossible situation. If you had left, Augustus would have lost all fetters. I can blame Jamie and Ki-young for looking the other way, but I see that you were trying to stop your father from the inside. Felix awkwardly scratched the back of his head. All of this to say that. I hope we can stay friends, even after all of this. We can, Livia replied with a small smile. But now is not the time to discuss rebuilding burnt bridges. No, of course not. Felix glanced at Ryan with embarrassment. Sorry, quick save, I realize this discussion must feel awkward, considering the two of you are dating now. Jealousy is for those who don't trust their partners, Ryan replied, making Livia blush briefly. It's all right, Kitty. Felix sheepishly looked away, before straightening up. Good luck. Adam Kitten hastily left the couple alone to join Leo and Narcinia, while Matt and Fortuna had a heart-to-heart talk a few feet away. Ryan was glad that Felix made an effort to reconnect with the people he left behind. The courier still thought that the kitten had a right to leave a toxic family environment behind, but he had thrown the good aside along with the bad. You know, Ryan whispered to his girlfriend, when we met, I never thought you and Sunshine would end up on the same side. I don't like him, she replied while leading him inside the building. But I trust you. He followed her through the corridors and into a private bedroom with painful yellow walls, and a painting facing the bed. Though unfinished, Ryan recognized his own torso, holding Livia in his arms bridal style. His girlfriend must have started it a few days before the courier returned from Antarctica. I missed you, Ryan, Livia said as she closed the door behind them. It was hard without you. I told you, he replied warmly. I will always come back. How were your winter vacations? Didn't you receive my messages, princess? I did, but I want to hear it from your sweet, sweet lips. The trip was pretty good, he answered while stroking her hair. I destroyed the Illuminati, the reptilians, and raided Area 51. You destroyed our government's secret masters without taking me with you? She pouted. Though I guess you left us the CIA. Would the Dynami's military-industrial complex count? He moved his forehead against her own, until he could smell her warm breath. You wanted to tell me something when I came back. She blushed, before averting his gaze. It's going to sound cliché. Can't you subvert my expectations? Ryan asked, causing Livia to chuckle.
Nah.
I'm kidding. There's no such a thing as a bad cliché, just a bad execution. It's all about saying it with the heart. Livia moved in front of him, put her arms around his neck, and locked eyes with her boyfriend. Ryan held her by the waist, and studied her expression. Her cheeks turned bright pink and she bit her lower lip, trying to muster the courage to speak. Eventually, the Auguste princess took a long deep breath and said 4 words. "I love you, Ryan." And her boyfriend didn't know how to answer. "Oh my, you are actually speechless," Livia said with a sheepish grin. "You didn't expect it?" "No, I didn't," Ryan admitted, his heart having skipped a beat. He hadn't heard those words in a very long time. "I expected the worst, like I don't like your car, or I'm pregnant. We didn't take any precautions on that front. Ryan, I have been on the pill since our first date." "Wait, you knew we would end up playing Bill and Monica in the Oval Office?" His princess looked so cute when she was embarrassed. "I didn't know, but I kinda hoped that we would from the start." "And you never said, 'I love you' to anyone else?" "I said, 'I love you, Dad, I love you, Mom, I love you, Felix, but never, 'I love you, Ryan.'" Livia's cheeks somehow reddened further, and her expression turned into a sheepish smile. "I'm so sorry, it sounded a lot better in my he." Her boyfriend kissed her on the mouth before she could finish. Ryan embraced her ferociously, making up for the weeks they spent apart, and she matched his own desire. When at long last their lips parted, the courier whispered words of his own into her ear. "I love you too, princess." Ryan lost himself in her blue eyes. He loved the sight of her hair, so blonde platinum that they might as well be silver. He loved the taste of her lips, her sweet voice, her kindness, and the adorable faces she made. He loved that she laughed at his jokes, making him feel less like a lone island of culture in a sea of ignorance. "Perfect delivery," Livia said, her fingers moving to his hair. "Maybe we should do a double take?" They did, and then made a third take just to be sure. Then he lifted her on the bed, to film the uncensored director's cut. "I know it hasn't been long since we met, but," Livia's hands trailed against his shoulders. "I haven't felt that way for a boy in a very long time." "I have loved too," Ryan replied, holding her gently. "But this is the first time I get the feeling it will last." "I want it to last," she said, in between kissing his neck. "I want us to go through the next loop and prevent that horrible tragedy. I want us to share an apartment, and make breakfast together. I want to go skiing with you, and to the beach too. I want to be with you." "I missed you," he answered. For a blissful moment, Ryan completely forgot about the carnival, Bloodstream, Dynamis, Augustus, and everything else. He could only think of her. Like all good things, it was over too soon. "We have to go," Livia said, as she finished putting her black coat back on. "They will wonder what we're doing." "We'll tell them it was a private projection," Ryan said with a shrug, before charmingly helping her comb her hair. "I think we're ready for the grand opening." "You said you could bring 6 people with you now?" Livia chuckled. "One for each color? Should we call ourselves the Rainbow Warriors? The Colorful 8? Ryan replied. "You're pretty bad at math, aren't you?" "It's a cunning strategy. That way our foes will always wonder who is the missing member. It will inspire fear. For all they know, our 8th genome could be Mecrin." When she had finished dressing up, Livia sat on his lap while he rested on the bed. "So?" his girlfriend asked. "Who will be on the winning team?" "I'm open to suggestions. Maybe Narcinia? We're missing a tag-along kid." "My plan was to make a mind map of her now, but not to transfer her mind," Livia said. "If Felix and I ask her to, she will submit to the memory upload in the next loop willingly." "Livia, we can't leave a priest, drugs, and a preteen on an island without supervision," Ryan joked. "It's a recipe for an FBI raid and a true crime video. And that's not mentioning the people in the basement." To save the Bliss test subjects, we will have to strike the factory early with Narcinia and Bacchus inside. I can inform Narcinia of that secret room, and she will give the victims medical assistance, but Bacchus will ground her in response. We will have to extract her from the island by force. Ryan considered it a plus. He had sworn to bury Bacchus beneath his facility, and intended to deliver. So, here is the timeline so far. The courier tried to put everything in order. I call brain dead as soon as I reload, so he arrives in New Rome as soon as possible. I give Ghoul the grave robber treatment, finish my delivery. Is that part necessary? Livia asked with a raised eyebrow. Quick save always delivers, no matter how many tries. Ryan was proud of reforming the postal service, one explosion at a time. Do you have a 24-hour delivery offer? Livia asked with a sly smirk. I could take you up on it. I have one, he said, putting his hand on her chin, but only for the right person. She exploded into laughter, the most wonderful sound Ryan had heard so far in his long, long life. All right, Ryan, his princess said with amusement. So afterward we meet at the bunker with anyone you could send back, and we deliver a one-sided thrashing to Adam the ogre. I love it when you speak my language. Since we attack the metagang within mere hours of your reload, we should be able to save every Rust Town denizen that they captured, Livia added. I'm hesitating about the planning afterward though, Ryan admitted. Should we strike the Bliss factory and then Dynamis? I suggest taking one organization at once, Livia said. If neither the metagang nor Felix make waves, my family will stay more or less dormant until the Olympian meeting. So I propose that we take over the bunker, build that dashing armor of yours, cure the psychos. And break the Dynamis monopoly? Livia nodded. If their knockoff's true nature is exposed and the supply destroyed, the organization will collapse. We can ensure both Hector Monada and Fallout are removed from power, and leave Enrique in charge of reforming what remains. Alphonse Monada will fight to the bitter end though, and there is the question of your adoptive father. In the end, Len will choose what we do with Bloodstream, Ryan replied. I want her father dead for the good of everyone else, but I owe her that much. A choice. Livia nodded. There is also another reason to target Dynamis first. Their gravity gun. Their anti-Zeus weapon? Ryan suspected it used the same technology as Mecran's variant. You said it wouldn't work in your visions. It won't work with Dynamis, but you have a way of making my visions lie, Livia replied. With Dynamis out of the picture, we can focus on my family. We will need to act quickly, as Dynamis' collapse will embolden Dad. We will have to strike before he can mobilize his organization to take over the city, and for that, we need to decapitate its leadership. They would have to take down the Olympians, and then top the rampage by bringing down Mob Zeus. Are you sure you want to be involved in the demolition? Ryan asked. You can leave this mess to me. Livia silently looked at him, her eyes heavy with concern. What bothers you? The courier asked. What if he kills you? His girlfriend asked with concern. What if my father kills you? Or Aunt Pluto, or Cancel? Or Adam and Fallout? They won't. Though deep down, Ryan remembered that all his encounters with Augustus had ended with a thrashing so far. The courier had yet to defeat Fallout in a fight either. They can, she replied, unconvinced. And if you perish without sending my mind back, I may not trust my notes and submit to the memory transfer. Ryan tried not to think of that possibility. If I die, and if I reload, I will come to you, and we will find a way. How? I don't know, her boyfriend admitted, but I will find a way. There is no such a thing as a plan guaranteed to work, and I. You what? Livia asked with a frown. I watched you die before, Ryan replied, remembering the time Big Fat Adam blew up the Bliss factory alongside Len and Livia. I watched almost everyone outside die at least once. I can't let that happen again. Even for the sake of memories. That's why I can't let you fight my family alone, Ryan. The risk for us to lose everything is too great. Livia gathered her breath, trying to process her feelings. I can't continue making excuses either. Not after watching this pointless bloodbath unfold. I love my father and my aunt, but they are so few, and they will kill so many. I can't close my eyes on this truth, even if it hurts. Instead of speaking a word, Ryan moved his arms around his girlfriend's hips and hugged her. Livia rested her head against his shoulder, eyes closed. Thanks for being there, Ryan, she said softly. You can't imagine how good it feels. To have someone there to support you, no matter how harsh the circumstances. I return you the sentiment, he replied, kissing her on the cheek. Thanks for helping make this right, partner. She looked at him, and smiled. Ryan prayed he would see that face again, for many years to come. So, Livia said. Knowing this plan, who will you take with you? You and Len, obviously, Ryan replied. Bianca, because it will make the ogre hunt easier. Adam Kitten, because he will do something stupid otherwise, and Shroud, because I need a new windshield. This leaves one spot open, Livia said. I can bring Fortuna as reinforcements, even if her mind isn't sent back in time, so we need to pick the right ally. Wardrobe, Ryan said immediately. Livia looked a tiny bit jealous, to his amusement. Seriously, Ryan. The panda. You're sure? Certain. After all his achievements, Ryan's Pandawan deserved a spot on the team. Besides, he could help strike the bunker early, unlike Leo Hargraves or even Mr. Wave. Although, I usually have joyride runs before wrapping things up, Ryan said. To try all the things I won't be able to do after my perfect run. Like, prank your dad, send Luigi to space, we could do that together. Livia shook her head. No, Ryan. It's kind of you to propose that, but no. You're sure? It would have been amazing. I know, Ryan, but you need to die with each reload. And even if we find a way to make the memory transfer painless, each new loop increases the chance that you perish early and that we have to begin again. She took his hands into her own. I care more about us than having fun. So did he. Or... Livia smirked. Or you could save right after we send everyone's memories back in time. That way, everyone will keep their memories, even if you die and reload forcefully. Ryan frowned, and gave the idea some thought. The problem is, if I save and I missed something You will save within 10 seconds of the reload, Livia interrupted him with a chuckle. What difference could 10 seconds make? Good point. It wasn't something Ryan usually did, but he was open to new experiences, and it cost nothing to try. It was time to begin his perfect run. 119, the last save. Next loop would be the one. Ryan could feel it deep within his bones. Even though the Saturn armor and its additional harness weighed down on him, a sentiment of profound liberation spread through his muscles. Alchemo had fashioned the courier a throne of metal and cables within the depths of Mekrin's submarine, linked to 6 helmets and special chairs for the would-be time travelers. Everyone was busy preparing for the procedure. Felix bade
Goodbye
to his sisters, all of them crying. Livia memorized everyone's freshly recorded brain maps, from Sunshine's to Narcinia's. Mr. Wave and his sidekick the Living Sun prepped Shroud for the trip. Len and the other geniuses oversaw the computations on complex computers, while Bianca complained as her own preparations took longer than usual. Stitch watched everything from afar, and a lone panda felt post-heroic blues. "This is my first time travel," the panda said, anxiously biting his fingernails in his human form. He had strapped his helmet first among all the would-be travelers, and as usual, immediately believed all of Ryan's tales. "What if it goes wrong?" "It won't," the courier replied calmly. "Besides, you're a panda, nothing can harm you." "But Sifu, when I come back, I won't," the poor man-bear narrowed his head in shame. "I won't learn." "You have learned enough, and since you've won the cosmic lottery once, you can drink the elixir again. Only you can make elixir bigamy work." "Well, technically, anyone could with their cure." Early tests on the captive meta-gang had proved the method's effectiveness. Though in Secret Agent Frank's case, Ryan kinda preferred him as a psycho. "But what if the panda gets a crappy superpower this time around?" his Pandawan asked. The panda doesn't want to be useless." "You were never useless," Ryan replied firmly, causing the poor man-bear to look up at him with hope. "Never." "And never?" "Never," Ryan confirmed. "And elixirs grant wishes, though not always well. If you want to learn, there's no reason why the blue elixir won't listen." The courier suddenly wondered what kind of wish Mosquito had made though. It must have been poorly worded. The panda wanted to be loved when he drank his elixir," the man-bear admitted sheepishly. "To have everyone look up to him. And it worked, but not thanks to your power." Ryan managed to raise an armored hand, putting his index finger on the panda's chest. "Thanks to this. The heart? You know, what I admire the most about you is that in spite of all the difficulties, you remain as optimistic and determined as the first day." In a way, Ryan saw himself in his young Pandawan. "I mean, your tragic backstory was one of the darkest things I have ever heard. Very few people would have stayed innocent after that, and it takes strength." His words seemed to have reached his disciple's heart, for he stopped biting his nails and nodded to himself. "Thanks, Sifu," he said with deference. Ryan raised a thumbs up, while Len and Bianca each took their place around the machine throne. "It better be fucking worth it," the latter complained, as Alchemo put a helmet on her face. "I didn't work years as a living cloud to get a few days of vacation as a human. This ain't an 8-to-5 job." "Your case is the most uncertain," Alchemo warned. "Your unique chemistry makes the transfer a coin toss." "It will work," Len said, closing her eyes while the helmet hung heavily on her head. With 2 reloads under her belt, she had grown almost comfortable with the procedure. "It must." Felix and Shroud followed suit, though the latter's girlfriend hugged him one last time before he could put on his own helmet. "How do the priests say it?" Ryan mused, as the vigilante's teammates helped him put on his harness. "Until time does us part?" "I promise that, whatever happens next time around," Shroudy Matty cleared his throat. "That I would do it right." "Do what right?" "Date her. No more vigilante work behind her back, no more lies. I will be honest from the start." Shroud sighed, though Ryan noticed a thin smile at his lips' edge. "Wherever it leads us. We will come to New Rome as swiftly as possible, if Shroud asks," Leo informed Ryan after helping his teammate get comfortable with his seat. "But not before a few days. Mr. Wave was busy killing Nazis on May 8th, Mr. Wave explained rationally. Undead Nazis. Exorcising the Third Reich takes time, even at light speed. So they wouldn't help with the bunker raid." Ryan had expected as much. Though Mr. Wave helped Alchemo attach Felix's helmet, Sunshine quizzed the courier. "The ace in the hole that could give you an edge over Augustus, and allow you to defeat Geist," he whispered. "It comes from this black world, doesn't it?" "I wield the majority's power in one hand, and the minority in the other," Ryan replied. "I do not understand that joke," Sunshine replied, his expression serious. When we fought Mekrin for the final time, he opened a portal to the blue world in a failed attempt to enhance his power, or so he tried. Instead, he contacted a darker place. The Black World? The creature beyond his portal destroyed Mekrin, annihilated him, and nearly did the same with all of Sarajevo. There had been no malice in that entity's action, only careless curiosity. Sunshine let out a sigh. What I'm saying is, if these entities can casually violate causality and destroy our reality by inattention, then your ability could have unforeseen side effects or consequences. You should use it sparingly. Everything else failed to harm Augustus, Ryan replied. And if he could trust his girlfriend, everything else would fail. And you've seen what happens if nobody catches the lightning in a bottle. Augustus' death is not worth destroying our world, however much he may deserve it, Leo warned, arms crossed. But I suppose the choice is up to you in that case. I'll keep it in mind, I promise, the courier said, joining his hands. You know, I'm glad you aren't pushy about this. I thought you would try really hard to make me join your circus and use my power to assist you. I don't believe in forcing people to join us, Sunshine replied with a kind gaze. True dedication only comes when freely given. Damn knight in shining armor, looking at him made Ryan teary inside. We are ready to begin, meatbags, Alchemo said, typing on his computer. Last but not least, Livia took her place right next to her boyfriend's left. Her hand reached out for his own, and he swore he could sense her fingers' warmth beneath the Saturn armor's steel. Anxious? Livia asked Ryan. No, her boyfriend replied, squeezing her fingers. I waited 17 loops for this. Time froze as he activated his power, and the procedure began. Violet particles appeared around him alongside many black ones, duplicating at an accelerated rate. Ryan briefly noticed a white rabbit's ears rise behind Alchemo's shoulder, before the particles swallowed the cranky genius too. Ryan expected an immediate return to the past, but to his surprise, the phenomenon carried on. More and more violet flux blinded him to the reality around him, overwhelming even the black spots among them. Then the purple veil split in half, a window through time and space. Through this door, Ryan distinguished hints of a pure violet place, and a triangular shadow moving closer to him. The shape became clearer, revealing strange eyes filled with burning stars. The Illuminati pyramid looked down at the courier with its alien gaze, and all one. It was May 8th again, hopefully for the final time. Ryan immediately drove through the streets of New Rome, aiming straight for Renesco's bar. By now, he knew the way like the back of his hand. Though he wouldn't advise anyone else to do it, the courier kept control of the wheel with one hand and seized his cell phone with the other. He quickly received confirmation text messages from multiple people before he was even halfway through his destination. Unknown caller, I'm back, Sifu, I'm back. Unknown caller, already on my way to the junkyard, quick save. Unknown caller, I can't believe you were telling the truth. I'll catch up to you ASAP. Unknown caller, I'm here, my knight. Timmy, Matthias, Felix, and Livia. Len quickly made her presence known by hijacking the chronoradio the moment Ryan put it on. Riri, I made it. A bit groggy, but I'm here. So did the others, Ryan said with joy. Success. It had taken centuries, but the courier had finally expanded his time-traveling postal service. Only Bianca hadn't sent a message, and considering her current location, she couldn't do so even if she wanted to. Ryan hoped that the transfer had worked out for her. I'll take care of Ghoul, meet up with the others, and hit the bunker through the front door, the courier informed his best friend. Wait near the back door, and take the water gun. It's time to get PSY wet again. With pleasure, she said with a hint of enthusiasm. She hadn't forgotten the meta-gang's repeated assaults on her orphanage. Take care, Riri, and good luck. You too, Shorty, Ryan said before his adoptive sister went silent. Since multiple people had successfully traveled back in time, it was time to test Livia's theory. If Ryan saved now, he could safeguard his allies' memories of the previous loops, even if this one ended prematurely. Though it was usually a big no-no in his book, the courier had already broken all his usual rules so far. What was one more? Ryan froze time, letting the universe turn purple. His car froze in the middle of the road, alongside all others. 1 second passed, and then another. Ryan held his breath as he counted them, waiting for the final countdown. Then he sensed an opposing force pushing back against his power, and time resumed before the fateful 10th second. Ryan almost veered off the road in surprise, though skills honed through countless iterations allowed him to quickly regain control of his vehicle. The courier attempted to save again, but events repeated themselves. His power refused to go past 10 seconds, letting time resume before the past could be set in stone. A shiver went down Ryan's spine, as a horrible realization dawned on him. He couldn't save. Why? Why? Did his black power interfere with his violet one? Did the alchemist tamper with it before her demise? Fear overtook Ryan's heart. If he couldn't save, would he be trapped in this city, always brought back to the past? Unable to die, unable to move on? A voice came out of the chrono radio, but it didn't belong to Shorty. It was Livia's. What difference could 10 seconds make? Ryan's girlfriend asked, an echo of the past timeline. Which is surprisingly a lot, Geist's voice answered, as bored as a tombstone. Then came Felix's mocking words, from a distant loop long gone. So you don't know everything. Ryan's fingers tightened around the driver's wheel. He had already been in a similar situation, when he tried to make first contact with the Violet Ultimate One. Echoes of the past had guided him and Shorty on the path to find the mind transfer technology. Though it couldn't force a reload, Ryan's elixir could prevent him from saving, as it did in Monaco. Back then, it had done so to prevent the courier from getting locked in a place with no way out and ruining all future runs. Was this a similar situation? Had Ryan overlooked a detail that would make saving now dangerous, causing his guardian angel to intervene? Was this perfect run ruined from the start? It was Ryan's own voice that answered his silent questions. Some say I should persevere, his words echoed through the chrono radio, before twisting into Fortuna's. My power will guide us to victory. Ryan scoffed. I hate railroading. Don't break your back climbing the hill, Simon's voice encouraged him, and the chrono radio fell silent. All right. He had to see this run through, and see what awaited him at the end. Ryan finally reached his destination, and parked his car near Renesco's bar. As he waited for his favorite Bone Daddy's arrival, the courier noticed his phone beeping. Ryan picked up the call, upon identifying the number as Livia's. Love? My knight, where are you? I'm on my way to the bar, Ryan replied. Is everything all right? No, she answered with panic, to his astonishment. Something is wrong. The courier immediately worried. Did PSY hijack Len's brain again? Or did one of the transfers go wrong? What's happening? I can't see Geist anymore. Ryan blinked behind his mask, while he noticed the hooded ghoul approaching the bar from a street corner. I don't know, he was fine a few minutes ago and then vanished without a trace. Bacchus has tried to contact him again, to no avail. It's as if he had passed on, Ryan finished. Darkling had warned him. His black power fed on deleted realities and paradoxes, each use of it strengthening its influence over reality. Two loops had made Ryan's black power so strong that it could act retroactively. which meant that if he accidentally slew anyone with it, even Augustus. Ryan, what did you do? Livia asked, half scared and half astonished. I can't even see him with my power. I'm not sure, Princess, Ryan admitted. Were the effects permanent, or would they fade out with another loop? Was that why he couldn't save? Did his black power interfere with his other ability? Or did it risk permanently damaging the timeline? Sunshine had been correct, he didn't understand his own ability enough. We must proceed as planned for now, the courier said. Each second counts. We'll see what's up with Casper afterward. Yes, you're right. Livia cleared out her throat. I will be rushing to the junkyard with Fortuna. See you soon. See you soon, Ryan replied warmly, before ending the call right as Ghoul walked into the bar. Damn it, this run had barely begun and already he would have to adjust his timing. Putting his phone back in his pocket and smashing the accelerator, Ryan opened his perfect run by ramming his car into Ghoul's back. Somehow, that never got old. The bar's entrance wall crumbled behind the Plymouth Fury, and Ghoul crashed into the ground headfirst. The barman retreated behind the counter, while the client screamed and ran away. Ryan calmly stepped out of his car, moved to the trunk, and grabbed the briefcase he had been hired to deliver. Then he waltzed through the bar like a child through a candy store. I'm calling the private security. Rinesco complained behind the bar counter. It's okay, it's the postal service. Ryan replied, before smashing Ghoul's skull with the briefcase while he was still dizzy. I've come to deliver the mail. Get the fuck out of my BA. Rinesco didn't finish his sentence as Ryan all but tossed the briefcase and a colossal euro bribe on the counter. Quick save always delivers, no matter how many tries, Ryan said, as Rinesco quickly counted the money and barely paid attention to the briefcase. We offer top-notch insurance services against property damage. It's enough to pay for the repairs, Rinesco said, before peeking over the counter to look at the dizzied Ghoul. What about him? Don't worry about this bag of bones, the courier said, as he glanced at his favorite undead. Ghoul struggled to rise back up, trying to use a chair as a foothold to do so. Ryan kindly kicked it out of his reach. He's what we call a freebie. Who are you? Ghoul rasped, as he managed to get halfway back on his feet on his own. It was perhaps the last run where the courier could mess with his favorite undead chew toy, and now was the perfect moment to blow off steam. Since his girlfriend had forbidden him his usual joyride suicide runs, the courier decided to have some fun while he could. He would release all the accumulated tension, before starting his perfect run rested, calm, and well-adjusted. You know, Ghoul, this might be the last time we can have a heart-to-heart conversation, so I thought I should tell you how I feel. The courier took a long, deep breath. You were almost like a Luigi to me. Ryan grabbed the undead skull by surprise. That's why I'm going to send you to space. The courier announced with a maddened light in his eyes. You're going to board a rocket, Ghoul. I'll put you into a rocket, and we'll call it Jeff. You're going to space, Ghoul, space. The final frontier for bones and men. What the hell are you? Ryan kicked his skeletal chew toy in the leg and released his hold over the head, making him collapse. I'm going to send you to Mars, or maybe Pluto because I don't care what others say, it's still a planet. Ryan continued his rant, and fear started to overtake the psycho's heart. This only encouraged the courier to further feed on his victim's misery. It's round and orbits around the sun, and there's an alien base on it. They pay you with seashells, and they drive their UFOs like drunk lemmings. They're Daltonians, Ghoul, Daltonians. Ghoul attempted to escape by crawling away, but Ryan grabbed him by the leg and pulled him in his direction. Then he moved on all four and invaded the undead's personal space. You're going to be the first corpse in space, Ghoul. The first undead astronaut in the entire universe. By now, Ryan was shouting so loud that he made his Luigi substitute wince with every word. But first you will train for the mission with Henriette. She's going to chew you, and baptize your skull as her litter box. But it will make you strong, strong like a Russian cosmonaut. And Len will like it because it means we'll be exporting communism beyond our solar system. Ghoul cowered, as he realized the nightmare had only begun. You will bone the Martians, Ghoul.